Magandang araw po! Today I will be presenting the evolution of language education policy in the Philippines. Our nation's rich linguistic diversity, coupled with a complex colonial history, has profoundly shaped our approach to language education. This presentation will analyze key policy across different historical periods, examining their goals, implementation, and lasting consequence, and finally, reflecting on their implication for modern language education in the Philippines. So let's start with pre-Spanish colonial period. So before the arrival of colonizer, the Philippines possessed a rich tapestry of indigenous languages, primarily transmitted orally. Each ethnic group had its own unique language, reflecting a rich cultural heritage. Knowledge transfer happened through storytelling, apprenticeships, communal activities, and the absence of centralized policy allowed for the organic language evolution, shaping the linguistic landscape for their impacted colonial forces. Next is Spanish colonial period. So the Spanish colonial period saw the first formalized language policy attempt. So royal decrees aimed to establish Spanish dominance primarily for governance and spreading Catholicism. The vast archipelago and diverse languages presented challenges, while decrees like 1863 Education Act mandated Spanish instruction implementation remained largely limited to urban centers and this period laid the groundwork for future language-based social stratification. So next is American colonial period. So the American colonial period in 1898 to 1941 brought a dramatic shift with the introduction of English as the primary language of instruction. So that Thomasites, American teachers, established a new public education system. This systematic approach, supported by significant resource allocation, resulted in widespread English adoption, particularly among the educated elite. However, the 1925 Monroe Survey revealed implementation challenges and concerns about the impact on Filipino languages. Next is Commonwealth. So the Commonwealth period in 1935 to 1942. So witnessed a pivotal move towards national unity through language. The 1935 Constitution called for a national language, leading to the creation of the Institute of National Language, now the Commission of Wikang Filipino. So Executive Order number 134 declared Tagalog as its basis, sparking both support and controversy. Commonwealth Act number 570 officially recognized Filipino, laying the foundation for its future role. So next is the Japanese occupation. So during the Japanese occupation in 1942 to 1945, Japanese authorities promoted Tagalog and suppressed English. This period through brief unintentionally contributed to Tagalog's growth and acceptance as national language. Next is the post-war. The post-war era saw the bilingual education policy, aiming to balance Filipino and English. The 1987 Constitution solidified this approach. More recently, the mother tongue-based multilingual education policy has been introduced to address linguistic diversity and improve learning outcomes, particularly in early childhood education. So let's move on to the critical analysis per policies in era. So pre-Spanish period. So the policy is the organic language development. So before the colonization, the Philippines had a rich linguistic diversity, with languages evolving organically through oral tradition and inter-island trade. This decentralized system fostered a vibrant multilingual environment, preserving cultural heritage and facilitating communication. The absence of formal policy in this case had a positive impact on linguistic diversity. Next is the Spanish colonial period, the 1863 Education Act. So the 1863 Education Act aimed to establish Spanish dominance. Implementation involving making Spanish mandatory in school, but faced challenges due to the limited sources and resistance Positive impacts included the introduction of Roman alphabet. However, the negative impacts were significant: suppression of local languages, creation of linguistic inequality, and limited access to education for most Filipinos. So this act solidified a linguistic hierarchy that continues to impact the society. This is the American colonial period, the Thomasite program. So the Thomasite program aimed to establish English dominance. So American teachers were sent to implement English instruction to schools. Positive impacts included widespread English adoption, opening doors to global opportunities. However, the program marginalized Filipino and other languages, creating a linguistic inequality and impacting cultural identity. This program solidified English role in education and professional settings. This is the Commonwealth period. So the Commonwealth Act 570. Commonwealth Act 570 officially recognized Filipino as a national language. The goal was a national unity achieved by promoting a common language, while it fostered national identity and implementation faced challenges to the regional disparities and resistance. The Act gave Filipino official status but didn't fully resolve the linguistic complexity of the post-war republic era, the MTB-MLE policy. The MTB-MLE policy aims to address linguistic diversity by using mother tongues in early education. The goal is to improve the learning outcomes and cultural preservation. While it shows promise, challenges remain in teaching training and resource allocation. The policy presents a significant shift towards inclusivity and recognizes the importance of mother tongues in early learning. The reflection questions. The first question: how did the colonial history of the Philippines shape its current language education policy? Colonial history profoundly shaped the current policy. So, Spanish colonization introduced a top-down approach prioritizing Spanish, like I said earlier, while the American period emphasized English. So this created a linguistic hierarchy where English and later Filipino gained prominence over many indigenous languages. So this legacy continues to influence debates about language use in education with ongoing discussion, balancing national unity with linguistic diversity. Now for question number 2, what role does language play in national identity and cultural preservation in the Philippines? A fundamental to national identity and cultural preservation. It's a vehicle for transmitting cultural values and traditions and history. So the promotion of Filipino fostered a sense of national unity, but preserving the numerous indigenous languages is equally crucial for maintaining the rich cultural diversity of the Philippines. Language loss represents a lost cultural heritage. Question number 3. How do you think the mother tongue-based multilingual education policy address the challenges of linguistic diversity in the Philippines? MLE attempts to address linguistic diversity by using mother tongues in early education. By strengthening foundational learning in a familiar language, it aims to improve the learning outcomes and foster a sense of cultural pride. However, successful implementation requires a significant investment in teaching training, curriculum development, and resources, particularly in areas with many different languages. Question number 4. What are the advantages and disadvantages of using Filipino and English as the primary language of instruction in schools? Using English offers advantages like access to global knowledge and opportunities. Bilingualism can enhance cognitive skills and broaden perspectives. However, this approach can marginalize other languages, potentially leading to language loss and hindering the cultural preservation efforts. This also creates challenges for students from diverse linguistic backgrounds. Question number 5. How can the Philippines balance the need for global competitiveness through English with the preservation of local languages and culture? So, balancing global competitiveness with cultural preservation requires a multifaceted approach. Proficiency in English is essential for global engagement, but this should not come at the expense of local languages. MTB MLE offers a potential pathway, but it needs a strong support and resources. Promoting multilingualism, valuing all languages, and integrating local languages into curriculum can help achieve this balance. So for our conclusion, the history of language education policies in the Philippines reveals a complex and evolving relationship between language, power, identity, and education. Colonial policies left a lasting impact, but ongoing efforts to promote Filipino and embrace linguistic diversity through initiatives like MTB MLE represents a significant step towards a more inclusive, equitable language education system. Challenges remain, including resource allocation, teacher training, and ensuring the preservation of diverse indigenous languages. Further research and ongoing dialogue are crucial to navigate this complexity and create a truly representative and effective language education system for all Filipinos. So that's all for our discussion. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for listening.